Death sentence or life imprisonment for former President Yoon Suk-yeol on Eskandre Channel. Hello to all the viewers following the historic upheavals of South Korean politics on the Eskandre Channel, where we peel back the layers to uncover the starkest truths about the trial of the century currently taking place. Today is an extremely tense day as the first instance trial of former President Yoon Suk-yeol regarding charges of leading an insurrection has officially begun, and the prosecution is preparing to deliver its sentencing recommendation. As soon as the trial opened, the atmosphere became more suffocating than ever as the fate of Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol and the other defendants seemed to have been determined by the harshest punishment guidelines. According to information from the court, the penalty for the crime of leading an insurrection has only three options: death, life imprisonment with labor, or life imprisonment without labor. However, currently, the option of life imprisonment without labor has been eliminated. This means Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol is standing on the precarious line between life and death, or he must spend the rest of his life buried in prison. I feel this is truly too cruel a situation, where a person who once led the country is backed into a corner with two such horrifying choices and no way out. It is reported that late last night, the special team led by Special Prosecutor Jo Yoon-seok held a very tense meeting to decide whether to recommend the death penalty or life imprisonment, but they could not reach a final conclusion. This hesitation by the prosecution shows they are also carefully weighing the immense political ramifications that this sentence could cause. Personally, I noticed that whatever the sentence may be, the script seems to have already been written by opposing forces. Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law to save the country from crisis, yet that action was branded as insurrection. Convicting a political decision as such a heinous crime will certainly ignite a fire of rage in the hearts of the people who support him. This is the first time in a year since his detention that Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol has appeared in a public trial, and also the first time in 30 years since the era of former presidents Chun Doo-hwan and Roh Tae-woo that South Korea is witnessing a trial for insurrection at this highest level. The media continues to run sensational headlines about the death penalty or life imprisonment as if trying to engrave into the public mind that Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol is an unforgivable criminal. Today's trial does not just determine the fate of the former president alone. It is also the day of judgment for a series of other high-ranking officials, such as former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun, former Defense Intelligence Commander Yeo Sang-won, former Military Police Commander Kim Yong-jeon, former Police Commissioner General Jo Ji-ho, along with other figures like Kim Bong-sik, Yoon Seong-yong, and Mak Hyan-tae. With such a long list of defendants, the trial is expected to last until late at night to finish the sentencing recommendation portion. Looking at the list of people who were once the pillars of the nation now having to stand in the dock, I cannot help but feel sorrow for the current situation where those who perform the duty of protecting security are treated as enemies of the regime. The prosecution alleges that Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol conspired with Mr. Kim Yong-hyun and other accomplices to declare martial law, despite the absence of war or a national emergency, with the intent to cause chaos and riots. Hearing the word riots, I truly find it ridiculous and absurd because, in reality, there were no riots instigated by Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol's side. It is all a fabrication by the media and opposing political factions, specifically Mr. Lee Jae-myung's faction. They are intentionally framing Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol's actions as insurrection to completely destroy the credibility of the conservative camp. Sadly, even within the ruling party, there are people like Mr. Jang Dong-hyuk who hastily spoke up to apologize, an action I consider a fatal mistake, tantamount to admitting guilt and aiding the opposition in attacking the former president. Looking back at the past, former President Chun Doo-hwan was sentenced to death in the first trial and then had it commuted to life imprisonment, while former President Roh Tai-woo was sentenced to 22 years and 6 months in prison and later had his sentence reduced. The current Special Investigation Agency is arguing that Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol used force to eliminate political opponents and monopolize power, so a similarly severe sentence is required, potentially death or life imprisonment, because he has shown no remorse. They are using this trial to launch an all-out attack to demonize Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol's image in the eyes of the public. However, what worries me most is the attitude of the presiding judge, named Ji-kwon, who allowed the indictment to be changed in a very calculated manner. According to the new indictment, they claim that Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol had been preparing for martial law for over a year, and that moving the presidential office to Yongsan was also part of this coup-plan. Accepting such a change in the indictment shows that the court is showing signs of conducting a trial driven by public opinion and a prearranged political script, rather than true justice. Although media outlets like the Jonggong Ilbo continuously publish series attacking and digging up the past to smear Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol, the wave of resistance among the people is still smoldering. Many young people and students, like Mr. Park Young-jun from Liberty University, are on a hunger strike to protest this unjust trial. The image of young people sacrificing themselves to protect their belief in the truth stands in stark contrast to the coldness and cruelty of the judicial machinery operating inside the court. Prediction of future developments from the narrator's perspective. Based on the aggressive moves of the Special Investigation Agency and the clear bias of the judge in allowing the indictment change to the most disadvantageous direction, I predict that the recommended sentence will certainly be the maximum level, which is the death penalty. The opposition and the prosecution need a shocking sentence to completely intimidate the conservative camp and assert their power. However, this will be a double-edged sword. Immediately after the sentence is announced, the wave of outrage from Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol's supporters will erupt more violently than ever. Student and public protests will expand, not just stopping at isolated hunger strikes, but potentially turning into large-scale marches that paralyze society. As for the court, although under political pressure, facing the fierce reaction of the public, the judge might hand down a life imprisonment sentence in the final verdict to avoid triggering a true civil war within South Korean society, while still ensuring Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol is completely removed from political life. In summary, today's trial is not just the judgment of an individual, but a painful test for South Korea's democracy and rule of law. We are witnessing a political purge disguised as justice, where a person who wanted to save the country becomes a criminal, while political calculations are celebrated. Does justice truly exist, or is it merely a tool of the strong? And will the South Korean people stand by for a sentence that reeks of retaliation? What do you think about the prosecution intentionally pushing Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol toward the death penalty? Please leave a comment below so we can discuss. Don't forget to follow the ESQ Andre channel so you don't miss the next sharp analyses of this shocking case.